right, welcome back to another podcast of Built Different. I'm Levi Wanner. I'm joined with my sister Cozi.
I have all the pictures. I just read pictures. I have all of the questions.
Oh wow! Normally it's me asking the questions.
Like, I hope you're ready.
Well, I just got my workout in.
Okay.
Feeling fully pumped. Got my protein in and an apple. I'm ready to go.
Okay. Well, and we're gonna cruise through these because I gotta go get a workout in.
Oh yeah.
So.
Because you're slacking.
I'm not. Okay. So, I just want to talk about the current market.
Okay.
What you think is going on.
January 26th market update.
Yes. So, so let's talk like big picture market first, right? What do you think people outside of real estate completely misunderstand about the market right now?
I still think people think it's a complete buyer's market, where more homes are being sold now than they have probably in the last 2 years. You probably have the stats pulled up because you're a weirdo. And I think it's a better buyer's market than it was, 4 years ago. But I think that it's heating up, and with interest rates going down, I feel like it's only going to get better.
Well, and here we still don't have a ton of inventory.
Right.
So even though there's not as many buyers, there's not as many houses. So.
Absolutely.
So I guess adding on to that, are we actually in a slow market or just different than what people have adjusted to?
I think we're just different than what people are used to, because we've had such a swing from the highs and the lows from the buyer's market to the seller's market that people don't know where normal is compared to what it should be. So I think right now we're basically in a normal market. I think average time on market is probably about normal.
Yeah,
you're
about 80, 90 days right now.
Yeah.
Which is still a buyer's market or a seller's market.
Still a seller's market.
So what signals are you watching that tell you the market's changing before the headlines do?
I'm straight boots on the ground, feel out what the customers are saying, what houses are moving, because what's nice is that we control our inventory, so we know what showings are happening, what open houses look like, and what the buyers are saying really. And the market speaks for itself. When you put a house on the market and it's overpriced and there's no showings, the market is spoken.
Right. It's also interesting, especially in our local market right now. For a while, it was like the higher end listings were moving, and now those have kind of slowed down. And
that's national. Nationally, the luxury market's higher right now than anything else.
I feel like we're kind of back to the smaller homes are moving faster.
Yeah, I think in a market that was slower, the trends are the higher end luxury homes start moving first, then the lower homes start moving, and then everything starts moving.
So now let's kind of shift gears into building and new construction. Yeah. So what do you think is harder right now, building the house or selling the house?
I think right now it's probably about equal. I think we're selling at a steady pace. We're building is good. There's lots of subs looking for work, but we've got subs from different markets that are slower moving in here, so that's making it easier. Building materials are easy to get where they weren't, during the pandemic. So right now, I think it's actually a pretty good mix.
Okay. So how has your build timelines, costs, or decision making changed recently?
So during a busier market, during a seller's market, I'll build more spec houses and not as many pre-solds, because when material costs are going up and the labor prices are going up, then I don't want to do as many pre-solds because it's hard to control the costs. So then we'll do more spec houses because we can control the cost, what we put it on the market for, what we sell it for. Because once we go under contract with the pre-sold, the price is what it is. And but during a slower market, we'll focus more on those pre-solds because that's a guaranteed closing.
Are builders being forced to run their businesses differently than before?
They are. You're seeing a lot of builder incentives, a lot of, rate buy downs, throwing in, landscaping, that kind of thing, which is always kind of a smoke and mirrors type of deal, because they're just raising the price to cover those costs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also interesting for us because we didn't pre-pandemic, we didn't have these big out-of-state builders coming into Montana doing these kind of things. So it's interesting for us now to be.
Yeah, and it's interesting to watch, because we keep a pretty good eye on those competitors, and they're all publicly funded, so they've got to pay their investors back. So you see them slashing prices and throwing out these huge incentives just to move inventory because they have to pay back their investors. Where I'm a sole proprietor and I don't have to do that. So,
who survives this cycle and who doesn't?
The frugal builder does, the one that's watching their costs, which is good for us because we're a high volume builder, so I'm able to negotiate good deals with vendors, good deals with subs. The builder that's not watching the bottom line is the one that's really going to get hurt.
Okay.
And the builder that builds the really big spec houses, and they said those will kill you.
Oh yeah.
When I first started, the developer that I started working with told me that if you build the house that you like, you'll end up living in it. And because there's not everybody can afford what you like. Not everybody can, there's first time home buyers, there's people downsizing that don't want that, and everywhere in between. So if you build some big spec that you like, doesn't mean somebody else is going to like it. And normally those people can afford to pay for a fully custom house.
So what are you personally doing differently in this market compared to 2 to 3 years ago?
2 or 3 years ago, we were selling houses as fast as we could build them. So I don't know if you remember, like we didn't even have to do open houses. So right now, we've hit 2026 blazing. We've done open houses every weekend. You did 2 this weekend. I did 2 this weekend. And
you did 2 this weekend in 2 different towns.
It did, yeah.
When I marketed open houses this weekend, I marketed 6 open houses in 3 different cities. So
that's fantastic.
It was running gun.
Right. And I got more leads in Cozi, so let that be known. Once again, chalk another K.
No, well, I had 2 people in my one open house, and I got 1 phone number. So that's pretty good odds.
We're not going on percentages. We're going on sheer volume. Because Cozi always says, "Oh, you always get the better open house."
You do get the better open house.
I think people just want to come see anymore.
Doubtful.
I'm
okay. So what stopped working that you had to let go of? Please let it be your ego.
Doubtful. What's funny is I haven't stopped doing anything. You just pivot with the market, because when I first started, it was boots on the ground, open houses, meeting people, pre-solds. That's how I built my business. And when it became the seller's market, then we didn't even have houses to hold open, so we couldn't hold open houses. And so now it's just kind of leveling back off. So we're kind of just pivoting back to what I started in the first place.
Back to the basics.
Yes. Show up every day, make calls, take calls, and the one thing that we're trying to get better at, follow up.
Yes. Where are you seeing opportunity that others might be missing it?
Where I see opportunity is when it does slow down, and a lot of builders will pull up because they're scared of what the market's going to do. Because we're in a business where we're 6-8 months down the line before we have a product that we can sell. So we keep pushing when other people are scared. We always have something to sell. And worst case scenario, we have to cut costs, drop prices, and sell it for what we built it for. Live to fight another day is what I always like to say.
How much of success right now is strategy versus mindset?
I love this. Well, I think it's 50-50 because strategy is my favorite part. I love looking big picture down the road. That's what I think I excel at, more than other our competitors. But going back to mindset, you can't dismiss that, because we're 2 weeks into 75 hard, and when we are on 75 hard, we are complete savages. There's nobody that can keep up with us.
I agree.
So I think that, to answer your question, I think it's a balance of both. I think you have to have the strategy, because I do like the fact that we think big picture. We think big picture with our floor plans, where I always say, builders are a bunch of dudes. You walk into a spec house, there's no coat closets, there's no pantry. And one of my sales sticks that I always do during, open houses, or when we meet a pre-sold client is, I've got a wife and 2 sisters and I take direction really well. So our floor plans are laid out for families to live in. You know, I have 3 boys, so a big pantry is a must. Brady's eating me out of house and home right now.
Let's, I kind of want to shift now. Let's talk maybe interest rates.
Yep.
So are the rates the real problem or just an excuse?
I think people's mindset on the rates are the problem, because historically 6% is a pretty low average. When I bought my first house 25 years ago, the rate was 6.5%, and the lender told me that this is the lowest rate you're ever going to see. She obviously lied or just didn't know. So,
she couldn't see the future.
But like our dad told us, he bought his house in the early 80s and the interest rate was 18%.
Right.
So I don't think the interest rate's a problem. I think it's how the media has forced us to look at the interest rate.
I also think during COVID when they got cut 3%, 2-3%, like that's not the norm. And now people want to act like that's what it should be. And it'll never be like that again.
Well, you never know.
Right.
So I think the Fed is the problem because they keep printing money and devaluing our dollar. And so people are buying a $500,000 house. They think it's a $500,000 house from 1990.
Right.
Where the dollar was a lot stronger and meant a lot more than it does now. So, and I just read a book on this, so I'm completely geeked out on it. So the more they print money, and they did the quantitative easing, which is just pumping money into the economy and saving big corporations, then the person that gets hurt is the lower and middle class because their dollar isn't worth as much. You didn't know you're coming to an econ class
I know.
today.
Well, hold on. So to kind of elaborate on that, if rates were to stay exactly where they're at for 2 more years, who wins?
I actually think it's a tie. I think right now is a good time where builders are making good margins and buyers are getting good deals. I think that's the way the economy is supposed to work. The supply and demand is supposed to work like that, to where the buyer shouldn't be getting gouged because when they drop the interest rate down, and so twofold, when they drop the interest rate down to 3% for a buyer, then they pump more money into the economy. So they're flooding money into the economy and devaluing our dollar and then dropping money to where it costs nothing to borrow it. So the demand rose up because people have more money to spend. And so builders, I call it the pendulum. Then the builders are able to charge more and because the supply is so high, and then the buyer's getting kind of bent over right there. But then if you go the other way, then the buyers, the buyers end up getting screwed either way, because when the builders can't build the house for the price that they can buy it at, then they don't have the money to buy it.
Right.
So I think that right in the middle is where the checks and balances need to be.
Even from like a real estate standpoint, it is kind of right in the middle right now, right? Because you have to be able to sell a house now. It's not like you can't just throw a house,
right?
Put a for sale sign on a napkin, throw it in the yard. And
when rates were 2-3%, we weren't taking home sales contingencies. It was just so hard for the buyers. I almost felt bad. Didn't, but almost.
How do you cut through the fear of the headlines?
I don't read them.
Okay.
I don't watch the news. I don't watch the news on anything. I don't believe any of it. No matter if you're watching Fox News or MSNBC or CNBC, is about the only thing I watch. Financial news. That's all I read. So I think that we're so flooded with information, and it's all about clicks and ad revenue that you really just can't believe anybody. That's the hard part.
Yeah, and then if you want to invest your time into that, you have to research it. You can't, right? You can't just believe it.
Right. If you see an article and you think you believe it, and then you look about who sponsored that article, and if it's all Trump supporters and gun safes and stuff like that, it's a really right leaning publication. So you just can't. It's not like the old days when we were growing up, when you had Tom Brokaw reading the news, and it was
right. But now there's you can research it. When back then, Tom Brokaw's word was gold.
Well, and the way that was set up is the 3 networks were they were able to broadcast, and the agency that did it made it so they operated at a loss, but to get the regular programming, to get the Cosby Show, you had to run the news at a loss, but now it's about profit, obviously, and getting people stirred up and riled up to create commotion. So I think right now is a great time for buyers and sellers, but you have to price your house right, and the buyer has to be educated.
Yeah. So let's talk about the local market. What do you think is unique about this market compared to the rest of the country?
The best part about Montana is, and I was in real estate in 2008 when we had the crash or whatever you want to call it, but Montana stayed even. You know, Billings homeowners didn't lose a bunch of equity like Phoenix in those big cities did. So, you know, we've got good industry here in our local area, and I think that Montana's always going to have that steady grind. We don't see the big upshoots. Bozeman, Montana did, but that's a different story. But like Billings and Helena and Great Falls are just constantly a good market.
Yeah, there's jobs there,
Yeah.
right? There's jobs here. There's hospitals, refineries, whatever.
There's not jobs in Bozeman,
government.
but other than that.
Right, Bozeman, yeah. So, do you think people are moving here for the same reasons they were a few years ago?
It's completely shifted. We didn't have a ton of out-of-state people moving here before the pandemic. I mean, there was a little bit, but you know, the pandemic, people wanted to get out of the big cities. They wanted to get a little space. And then the show Yellowstone came out, and it never snowed in that show.
The wind never blew.
The wind didn't blow. It was springtime all the time. So I think in Montana's, you know, doing an okay job at creating more economies, more business. They could do better, I believe. Our tax structure is not set up great, but I think they're doing an okay job. Like, I think the state should be easier on manufacturing and stuff like that to bring more jobs to Montana. But I do think that Montana is a great place to be for quality of life.
So what would you bet on long term in this area?
I would bet big on Montana. Everybody wants to live here.
The Cats just won a national championship.
The Cats just won a national championship.
Put us on the map.
Go Cats, go. Yes. The quality of life here is just great. The only bummer for me is the winter, because I don't do any winter sports or anything.
Right. I will say, so like during 2020, 2021, I remember I sold like probably 15 houses all right in an area. Every single person was from out of state. It was like Washington, Oregon, California, whatever. And I said, when I sold the house, how many of these do you think go on the market after the next winter? And we had an awful winter. None of them sold.
Yeah.
I think like one did a few years later, but so that's, I guess what I'm saying is that or even right now, like in Belgrade, it seems like a lot of the people that we're working with are buying their second home.
Oh, second,
in the
third,
area.
yeah.
That moved here from out of state. So once people are coming here, they're not leaving.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of people moving from out of state that their kids lived here, and they're moving for grandkids, that kind of stuff. And the quality of life is just so good. You go to big cities and you're in traffic for 2 hours, and we get mad if it takes us 15 minutes to get across town.
Yeah.
If I have to sit at a stoplight for more than 3 minutes, I'm going irate.
Okay, so what's the most stressful part of this market for you personally?
You know, the stress is just always kind of the same. Just always selling houses. We need to be selling at least a house a week. Dealing with, banks is always a stress. Dealing with, home buyers is always stressful. I don't think it changes. It's just dealing with, rates. Because obviously when rates are higher, our interest is higher on our bank loans. So that cuts in the margin. Just staying ahead of it is probably the stressful part. What do you think is your stressful part?
I don't know that anything feels any more or less stressful than it always does. It was almost kind of fun to have to get back to basics and have to actually sell a house and not
negotiating.
Like negotiating is a blast. So what keeps you grounded when things feel unpredictable?
I think just experience. I think, because I've seen the markets go up and down. I've seen, the 2008 slowdown. I've seen, the top markets, and I think and then having that big picture, always looking forward, always weighing the risk of what could happen, because there's a lot of people that depend on us.
Well, and then you're not surprised, right? If you're looking forward and being like, okay, what could happen, then whatever happens, you're prepared.
Yeah. I'm not surprised very often. I'm normally pretty good at reading what the market's going to do. The only one that really shocked me was when it was the pandemic and we thought the world was shutting down. And everybody thought that houses were just going to sit.
Yes.
And that's why we pivoted and did that low entry barrier house, the affordable home. And just because, again, I'm always foot on the gas, always going forward. And the market took off. And if anybody ever tells you they saw that coming, they're completely full.
So how many times, so let me remind you of where I was at in life at this point. I was in a 2-bedroom duplex.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Honda Accord. I was pretty new in real estate, a couple of years in, right? I was like, oh fuck, what am I gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna have to go get a waitressing, but then you couldn't go get a waitressing job, no restaurants were open, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what am I gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
we're not gonna be able to show houses, people aren't gonna move,
Mm-hmm.
and literally the exact opposite happened. To where, how many times have I said to you since that happened, how did I not see this coming? And you're always like, nobody did.
Nobody did. Nobody forecasted that happening. Even if they do, they're completely full of shit. There's just no way.
I will also say, just to add to this, like what I feel like kept me grounded was the routine. Right?
100%.
Like, you still left foot, right foot, do the same thing every
I love
day.
that. Yeah. Get up, do the same. We still came to work every day. Didn't listen to any of the guidelines because we're in Montana, and we were deemed essential, so that was nice.
Right.
We wouldn't have changed even if we weren't.
So, what did this market force you to get better at?
It forced me to get back to the basics. That's the best part, because every time we start dipping, when we feel ourselves dipping, it's always because of our actions. The market never really dictates how busy we are. It's our actions. Am I traveling too much? Am I playing too much golf? Am I hanging out with my crew too much? Once you and I get our feet on the ground and we start doing open houses, we get leads. There's always somebody that wants to buy a house. Someone's getting married, somebody's having kids. Our favorite, someone's getting divorced. Things happen.
Things happen, right?
Life
People
changes.
have babies. People die.
Yeah.
I mean, it's life.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
Little Sopranos humor for you.
Okay, so just a few closing questions.
Yes.
If someone's sitting on the sidelines right now, what would you want them to think differently about?
That mindset has never changed. In 1982 or whatever, when our dad bought his first house at 18%, if he'd have waited, he would have lost a bunch of equity. If you would have waited in 1995 when the economy is slow, you would have lost a bunch of equity. Same thing in 2008 when everybody in Phoenix sold their houses. If they would have just held on and stayed the course, their houses would have shot up in equity.
Right.
I think that you have to make the best financial decision for you and your family. Go to the bank, get a great lender, talk about what you can afford, not what they qualify you for, because there's always going to be more than you really want to spend. Make the best financial decision for you and buy a house. Because especially in Montana, when we're constantly getting 6 to 12% appreciation, buying is always the right answer. If not, you're renting and then you're
paying
paying somebody else's mortgage. Or if, in this time right now, if you're looking to upsize, your family's growing and you're waiting for interest rates to drop, then the price is going to go up. The supply and demand always holds true.
Well, and they've been saying rates are going to come down for a year, and they haven't.
2 years.
So, yeah.
So, which was the right move, because you can't flood a bunch of money into the economy and not expect inflation to go up.
Right.
It's just what it is.
So what does playing the long game actually look like in real estate today?
You have to set yourself up for success. You have to do, and you're gonna love it. You got to do the little things right every day. You have to. If you think you're too good to do the things that got you there, you're going to slip.
You and open houses.
Me and open houses.
Levi always said at 50 he was not going to be doing open houses anymore, and we were knocking on the door at 50, and you were pumping out more open houses than ever.
when I'm doubling you up on leads, maybe I just won't work the rest of the week and just do open houses.
There you go. 1 year from now, what do you think people will say they should have done in this market?
They should have bought a house.
Okay.
They absolutely should have bought a house. I think investing in real estate, buying real estate, it's the best tool that I know for building wealth. I know, like, we'll get some arguments, you know, the crypto fiends and people. I think, like, for a normal family, buying real estate is always the best move.
Okay, that was all I had for you today.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for coming in. Follow me at Levi Wanner on Instagram and Built Different on YouTube. Thanks everybody.